It should be absolutely no surprise by now that I am obsessed with Baldur's Gate 3. But even I, a man with nearly 1,200 hours in the game, am running out of things to do with it. I mean, it's awesome. I love the game. But I know the story and dialogue so well now that there isn't much more for me to discover until patch 8 comes out sometime soon. So, that's why I love mods like this, the Trials of Tav. This mod turns Baldur's Gate 3 into a roguelike, and that might sound familiar because I've already made a video about it. And if you want to know the basics of this mod, you should go check that video out. But it turns out that somebody loved the Trials of Tav mod even more than I did and went the extra mile to add on all sorts of stuff to it. But there's one last thing that they've added that got me determined to play this mod. Quote, one veritable super boss, level 27, designed to pull all the stops in the classic RPG fashion. He's the last creature to become available in the scaling, and if you defeat him, you can essentially consider the run won. Level 27? Yeah, I'm gonna need to see that. So strap in, gang. I'm undertaking the trials once again, and it'll stop once I've defeated this new super boss. But I don't want this to be too easy, so I'm gonna make it so that if any of my party members die, they are dead for good. Except me, of course, because I'm a little more necessary and I can't replace myself. And if my whole party ever dies, then I will consider that a dead run and I will have to restart. And I know, lots of yapping, but I'm also going to throw on some other mods to keep things interesting and mix it up. There's some customization mods for characters and such that I'll throw on screen now so that you can use them if you'd like, but the more important mods are these. Mods that add some 5e subclasses, different weapons, different spells, and all sorts of other fun stuff simply to enhance your experience with this mod. If you want to replicate what I did here today, I strongly suggest using these mods as well. Alright, that was a lot of talking. I think it's time we get started. For my character, I'll be playing as a familiar face to some of you, Dump. Dump is my first and most famous character. He's the one I killed every NPC in Skyrim as, and he's gonna be our main character for this run. He's a fighter, because I feel like that's a solid class early on, and one of my favorites personally. And I forgot to say it in the intro, but I'm doing this challenge on the Tactician difficulty, which means enemies are as strong as they can possibly get. That's why the very first battle was already pretty tough. Against this one single dude who had way more health than I did, I had to use a little hit and run strategy to keep myself safe. The second battle was, ironically enough, much more reasonable. After that, I hit level 2, which means I get to take my first companion. Oh yeah, another rule, to get a new companion, I have to level up. Anyways, that companion is yet another familiar one, this time being Dumpfalese. Dumpfalese is the character I played as in the I Killed Every NPC in Baldur's Gate 3 series. Yeah, I figured it would be fun to only use my own characters that I've made in my own videos over the years, because after all this time, I have made more than enough to make that happen. Now, look, I don't want to waste your time, and I sure as hell don't want to waste mine. This run isn't the one, but let's talk about some of the fun things that happened along the way. Dumpfalese is a paladin, and between the two of us, we bullied this goblin. Somehow, that was enough XP to hit level 3, and this time I'd be taking Dumpy Ketchum as my ally. She's from my second most viewed video, a video that I have a tough time rewatching because I recorded the script at like 3 AM and I sound so tired in it. Battle 4 was nothing of note really, but the fifth one saw the death of Dump and Dumpfalese. Dump can't stay dead, but that does mean we've lost Dumpfalese for good. That was unexpected. Rest in peace, Dumpfalese. In the sixth battle, I used Dumpy's bear to great effect. I thought making her a Beastmaster Ranger was kind of funny considering that was like a Pokemon-themed video. Fight 7 was cartoonishly long, lots of this stupid wizard guy putting us to sleep, but thankfully it did bring me to level 4. This here is my new companion, Dumper. Dumper was the guy I played as in the first Trials of Tav video, so he's got some experience under his belt. But then I, of course, immediately lost Dumper in fight number 9. In his stead would come one of my many Elden Ring characters, Dumply. Dumply is a light domain cleric, and she's a pretty solid character. By the time fight 15 rolled around, I had hit level 6 and took yet another new companion, Frank. Yeah, I know, Frank. It's a little less of a conventional Dumpy Kong name, but I thought that this guy looked like Frank from Shameless, so yeah. Fast forward quite a bit to fight 25, and I was starting to see a massive jump in difficulty, being forced here to contend with the Darkening Hunt, who is the ranger version of your possible Netherbrain counterpart, and a Steel Watcher, who is pretty damn tanky. Throughout the next few rounds of the fight, more enemies were appearing, but it had become clear at this point that we have left the easy fights behind. I was getting a little tired of Frank's limited ability as a warlock, so I traded him out for Thalia, the character created by my AI buddy in my ChatGPT helped me beat Dark Souls 2 video. She's a draconic ancestry sorcerer, and she showed off her powers in Fight 30... shit. Well, folks, let me introduce you to Dumpalicious. He's a storm sorcerer and will become ridiculously powerful. The reason for that is because after fight 47, I unlocked one of the best upgrade possible, turning him into the God of Ambition. It allows you to use Gale's 3 godly spells, Divine Revelry, Form Sculpt Tressum, and the most powerful of them, Power Word Ruin. This upgrade is ridiculously good because you can use any of these spells unlimitedly. You don't even need spell slots. You can just do nearly 300 damage with Power Word Ruin for free. I mean, it costs your action, but that's a pretty small price. Not to mention, it like doubled his health and gave us all the Aura of Possibility condition. This carried us for a good while, even making Super Demon Devilman Raphael look like a joke. But Dumpalicious wasn't invincible, for there is another out there even more powerful and intelligent than he, Elminster. This isn't silly non-spell having simulacrum Elminster, this is the Elminster, and he caught me being cocky and disintegrated Dumpalicious. No! Fuck. That was really sad, and I did end up avenging my boy, but I was pretty crushed. I replaced him with Dumpathin from the I Killed Every NPC in Oblivion video, probably my favorite video on my channel, and with him, we carried on. Only a few fights later though, fight 58 to be exact, we came face to face with that final boss. This is Mephistopheles, and he is a certifiable fucking monster. Just a genuine, brutal piece of shit. They're right though, his abilities and movesets are incredibly reminiscent of those old school D&D bosses. I mean, he kinda is one, so that makes sense. The thing that made Mephistopheles so hard to defeat was his 3 reactions, and he was even punishing me for attacking the allies around him. I fought with Mephistopheles for over an hour, trying to pull out every trick in my extensive book, just like they said I would, but he was too strong, and I had gone in too confidently. Dumpy, one of my all-time favorites, was the last one on her feet. You think if I, like, threw this, it would turn Mans into gas and that he couldn't do anything? Nope. The answer is no. That is not what happened. That was my first run down the drain, and over 16 hours I could never get back. Well, folks, let's go over what I learned, shall we? First and foremost, Mephi don't fuck around. I'd better not have a build too reliant on magic, otherwise he will straight up embarrass me. I also need to take better care of whichever character gets to become the God of Ambition. I know I just literally 2 seconds ago said don't rely on magic, but that upgrade is insanely powerful, and I would be a fool not to take it to the end. And lastly, don't change the difficulty slider. The difficulty slider? Yes, the difficulty slider. See, there's this setting in the Trials menu that lets you change the amount of time it takes for the game to automatically send you back to camp after a battle. I was adjusting and increasing that slider as we progressed, but dude, I was moving the wrong slider. This fucking slider just makes the game harder. I mixed them up. I had made the game way harder than it was by default, and I'd really rather not do that again. So, moving on to my successful run, this time I was Dumpet. Dumpet is my character from the I Killed Every NPC in Fallout 4 video. She's also a fighter, as Dump was, and after literally the first fight, I was level 2, and picked up my boy, Dumpus. Dumpus is from my Honor Mode video, and he is a monk. Fight 2 was just a single goblin, and after a reasonable reasonable third fight, I was level 3. I really liked having Dumpy as a ranger, so this time I made Serendipity to fill that role. Yeah, that's probably the best name to come out of any of these videos. Thanks, ChatGPT. Fight number 4 was scary, because not only were we surrounded by lava, but there was also a harpy who just might cause me to run right into said lava. We came out unscathed, and continued our triumph, I can't say it, and continued our triumph. Ooh, it wants to come out so bad. We continued our victories through battles 5 and 6. We were once again presented with plenty of lava in fight number 7, but this time I got to make some use out of it. That got us up to level 4, and in my final slot, I made Santa. Yeah, Santa. I played as him in my Impossible Elden Ring mod video, which was around Christmas time, so that's where Santa came from. There's a really ugly, yellow, piss-looking filter over that whole video. I don't know why I did that. In my 15th battle, I started getting kind of annoyed at how spread out some of the enemies were when they spawned in. The reason being that you get extra XP and loot if you manage to kill your enemies in a certain amount of turns, and so them being far apart made that pretty difficult to achieve. Thankfully though, I was very warmed up after that whole first run and over a dozen fights into the second run, so fights 16 through 23 were all really easy. In numero 24, tragedy struck when Dumpus was killed. Rip my mans, but I'd argue his replacement was even tougher, Dumpy K the 4th. She's from my I Turned Baldur's Gate 3 into a Pokemon video, one of my all-time favorites, and she's a War Domain Cleric. It wasn't until Fight 32 where we got to see some heavy hitters. Ketherick popped in to say hi, alongside Eladrin. Who's Eladrin? Well, with a cursory Google search, Eladrin is more of an it than a who. We beat them, but another of the Dead Three's chosen showed up in the 33rd fight. After that, I was honestly expecting Orin to make an appearance, but she never showed. Garangoth paid us a visit in Battle 35, and then funny enough came right back in Fight 36. In 39, I was growing concerned that we may just be too powerful, because we were not struggling in the slightest. Even Grim Jr. showing up in the 40th fight wasn't enough to shake me, and we kept flying through. Well, flying from that fight to the next one, which is Fight 41. In this encounter, both Answer and the Shambling Mound appeared. I was having an incredibly lucky streak though with Dumpy 4, and she was able to keep the Shambling Mound from really doing anything until Answer was dealt with. If I hadn't gotten so lucky with her rolls, I think that might have been a much more dangerous situation. In Fight 43, I made good use of the Incendiary Cloud spell, and when this Wraith was standing in it, all I could think of was William Afton screaming. But fun's over, or at least on pause, because it's time for Battle 44, where I encountered Zariel. Yes, the Archdevil Zariel. She wasn't as powerful as Mephistopheles, of course, she's not the final boss, but she was still very strong. Strong enough for me to lose yet another Dumpy. I damn near lost Santa too when a little sacrifice attempt went awry. I thanked my lucky stars though that I had a few brilliant retorts, and with no regard for Dumpette, I pelted the Archdevil with them to finish her off. I needed to fill the last spot on my team with Dumpy the 4th gone, so I summoned yet another character from that first Trials of Tav video. This is Oleg, and he's a Kensei monk slash thief. He's very tough, but I sealed the deal for him by making him the god of ambition. I mean, I figure there's no point in giving it to another spellcaster, because then the rest of the spells that they have are going to be kind of useless in comparison, and Oleg, as a monk, still has plenty that he can do with his bonus actions. Yes, actions, because he's a thief. He got to put himself to the test in Fight 46, where I met a new enemy, the Nightwalker. I had no fucking clue what that was, but with yet another Google search, I learned that a Nightwalker is a pretty damn formidable monster in the D&D verse. He got put down though, right alongside my good friend Raphael, who also made an appearance. 47 was a battle not worth much note, but then something incredibly strange happened in the 48th. You see, Mephistopheles showed up, but he wasn't doing anything. He was literally just standing there, not taking any actions, not doing any reactions, and I was fucking him up. And man, what a cringe and lame way that would be for my finale, so I loaded back and tried again, but he was still broken. So I made a decision that would only make my life harder, but it would feel more fair. I reloaded the game and reset the scenario so that we'd at least have a different map. But in the real Fight 48, Mephi didn't show up, and we absolutely crushed. That one brought us to the max level of 20, which was really funny because in the very next battle, I could tell that the Mefster was coming. That's because I could see there was only 1 round and 5 spawns, which meant there were going to be some heavy hitters. And boy was I right, because there he is, the real final boss. Not the sleepy version. Except, not really. See, I was too prepared this time. I had some ghouls with me, I had a mind flayer with me, and frankly, we were just too strong. Mephistopheles is a great boss, and I had a lot of fun fighting him, but this time, we totally steamrolled him. And it wasn't because he wasn't trying, boy was he trying, but I had just made a team that was like specifically prepared to counter him, and it worked like a charm. I slayed the final boss and his cronies, and like the description for the mod said, I can now essentially consider this challenge completed. So, what can I say about this mod at the end of the day? Well, first of all, I want to make sure the folks who worked on this mod and the original version get all their due credit. I love stuff like this, mods that turn games into different types of games, and I am very appreciative of their hard work here. Second of all, if you like Baldur's Gate 3, if you have access to a PC to play it on, and if you want a refreshing way to play the game while waiting for patch 8, then I cannot possibly recommend giving this mod a shot. Wait, what? Oh, I read that wrong. That I cannot possibly recommend enough giving this mod a shot. I also very strongly advise adding on these mods as well, because they only enhanced the experience for me personally. As for me, I know this is a much shorter and simpler video than I usually post, but that's for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to spoil everything about these mods. Like, I didn't really talk about most of the new spells, and that's because I want you guys to try it out for yourself. If you don't have a way to play it yourself, no worries. You can still check out the mod pages and take a look at the new spells there. They're really cool, and like I said, they definitely enhanced my time playing. The second reason this video is so short is because I wasn't exactly planning on it coming out yet. I had a different Baldur's Gate 3 video almost ready to go, but then I realized that with patch 8 presumably only a handful of weeks away, I'd really like to use photo mode in that video. It's a video similar to my Who Was the Strongest Companion Before the Tadpole video, which is like mostly me talking, and while I'm able to get cool shots and stuff now with the use of mods, I feel like I'd regret releasing it without using the photo mode to make the video even better. So once patch 8 comes out, keep your eyes peeled for my new video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really had a good time with these mods, and I cannot stress enough how much you need to go play them yourselves right now. That's all for me. GG's everybody.